exciting as you've all hoped and dreamt it would be. We are going to be moving through things tonight because we've got a lot on our agenda tonight. Attending remotely tonight is Titi Yasukawa, Heidi Chain, and Dr. Renee. They are attending remotely because they qualify for extraordinary circumstances tonight. As usual, you must be seen and heard for the entirety of the meeting in order to be counted as present. If you're not seen and heard for the entirety of the meeting, you will be counted as absent. If those on the screen can keep your microphones muted, please use the raised hand function. Tonight you have a new monitor. Her name is LT Chiaccio, so she will be your new monitor tonight. Mark has moved on to other things, so please feel free to use the raised hand function if you have a question and or comment tonight. Okay, so if we could all stand, please, for the start of our meeting. If we could turn to the flag and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all so much. Have a seat. Okay, we will now start the public forum. Tonight, we will get good and welfare reports from board members. So I'm going to look onto the screen first to see if there are any good and welfare reports on the screen. Heidi, do you have a good and welfare report tonight? Heidi, you're muted if you do. Okay, Heidi is muted at the time, so what I will tell you is what she would normally tell you. The 112th Precinct Council meeting is coming up. It will not be the 14th because it's usually the Wednesday after our meeting, but because we're meeting a week early, it will be on the 21st. If you follow them on any of the socials, on Facebook and on Twitter, you will find 112th Precinct Council, and it will have all of the information as far as how to sign up to connect to next week's meeting. I believe for the winter they have moved their meetings online, so I think that would make that meeting a bit more accessible. So if you want a safety update or have safety concerns for your community, that's where you gotta go and rock and roll for safety. Any other good and welfare reports from the board tonight? Mark Laster, please stand and don't talk till you get the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. So, just for a composting update, though both food scraps drop-off sites here in our neighborhood at the farmers market and Common Point remain open for now, the reason they're open is because they secured a large donation that was able to keep the sites open. However, this grant runs out by June 30th. Starting July 1, there will be no more community composting because the mayor has not included it in this upcoming budget. So the Save Our Compost Coalition is advocating to have the funding restored in the next budget. If you're interested in joining the fight to try to get this money back in, please email the Forest Hills Green Team at fhgtinc@gmail.com. Second, Central Queens Against Hate is tentatively planning another Breaking Bread Building Bonds luncheon for Sunday, February 25th at 2 p.m. Since the mayor's office has no more funding for the next BBBB, we're hoping to secure another source of funding. We will keep you updated if we indeed secure that funding. Central Queens Against Hate submitted a grant to the Office of Prevention of Hate Crimes, the New York City Commission for Human Rights. The name of the grant was One Borough, 100 Tastes, a Queens Food Fest for cultural celebration, where we plan on inviting local restaurants who serve food from different cultures to share their food and stories why this is significant to their particular culture. We hope to hear soon if we receive the grant. Tomorrow evening, Central Queens Against Hate is having their monthly meeting to talk about these programs. And finally, Forest Hills Stadium, CB6, Forest Hills Green Team, Metro Village Forest Hills, Assemblyman Hevesi, Councilmember Schulman, Senator Adabo will be having a cleanup along Metropolitan Avenue on Saturday, March 9th. And please watch for more details. Thank you.
Okay, Bruce, Kavish, can you hand Bruce the microphone, please? Mark?
I have to turn it on. Hold it down.
No?
No.
You can email her after. Does that work better? Thank you.
I'm Bruce Grossberg, the chair of the Aging Social Services and Disability Committee. The committee will be sponsoring a webinar called Nursing Homes After COVID-19, Thursday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. The panelists will be Senator Joseph Piedabo and Richard Mollett, who is the Executive Director of the Long-Term Care Community Coalition. The moderator will be our very own Mark Laster. I don't have a flyer ready, I'm sorry. I'll try to have one ready for the email that you get on Friday, but if it's of interest to you, please notify your networks and hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Bruce. Anybody else have any good and welfare to report? Okay, then the good and welfare report section for the community board members is now closed. We will now move into public comments. A quick reminder that all written testimony will be included in the minutes that will be circulated for approval for the next meeting. It will not be read aloud in the interest of time. And in regards to public comments tonight, we know that we have about 14 public speakers, so we're asking you to stick to your time. You will be given a 30-second warning that you have 30 seconds left, and we're asking that as soon as time is called, timekeeper is Mr. Peter Beetle, not Peter Beetle, that you please promptly end so that we can make time for other people. We have people here who have comments to make on a variety of community issues, and I don't want to steal from their time. We also ask that you remain silent during public comment time and that you don't take away from another person's time, and that you don't, and that you respect what they're saying. Respect does not mean imply you agree. Respect just means that you respect their opportunity to speak, just like they will respect yours. So, we will be calling these folks in the order in which they signed up. You will use a microphone. You will come right up here to the front of the podium. You will address the board. And let me see here. The first person is Patricia Malley. Patricia, good evening. I think it's your first time with us. Come on down. I'm sorry, this isn't The Price is Right. I have nothing to give you except a microphone. Hi, welcome, Patricia. First time speaking, okay.
Okay, you got 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold the mic. Oh, it's like an ice cream cone.
I'm a citizen of Forest Hills and have resided here for 57 years. I'm very upset with the present situation of the concerts. They have destroyed the quality of our lives here. Here are 3 reasons. One is the noise. The noise is intolerable. They begin early and they do not end curfew at 10 p.m. I filed complaints several times. This is a residential area. The bass vibrations give me headaches. 2, the parking and the traffic. I live on Burn Street. The police and the tow trucks remove our cars. Many are towed and damaged. They reroute the buses. They block the traffic flow. I have health issues. I had to have my carpets cleaned. In 2022, the carpet team had to park 4 blocks away, and the concerts don't start until 7 p.m. The man had to carry his equipment 4 blocks. They reroute the buses. I have to carry heavy groceries from Yellowstone Boulevard. It's not conducive to our health. Moreover, the emergency vehicles, ambulances, and the police along 69th Avenue produce fumes and noise that give headaches. Neighbors above and in the adjacent buildings are all complaining about it. I've gone around and spoken to many people who've complained about the same situation. Third thing is the garbage and the litter. The concert goers get drunk and drugged before and after the concerts. They cannot control themselves. As a result, they leave and urinate in our driveways and properties. I've taken pictures and I've spoken to the authorities, the captain of the 112th precinct. I took pictures. This is a health hazard because the children and pets are subjected to germs, which is dangerous to our health. And all the residents who live there that are hardworking, come home from work late at night, it's despicable. Today I found 3 bottles thrown in front of my building broken. I picked up the broken glass and it destroyed it in my basement where I live. I shouldn't have to pick up after anybody. In addition, there's drugs and condoms on the ground. We are not paid to become janitors after these people leave the stadium premises. We're exposed to their public toilet and their garbage. We're exposed to contamination. The quality of life has been destroyed by these concerts. We cannot have that. Many people are fed up. I'm a ladies auxiliary member in this community. I've lived here for a long time, and I would appreciate it if somebody realized that I'm a senior citizen and that I have serious health issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you so much for sticking to your time. That's fabulous. Next up is Alex Shehosova. I'm sorry. Alex? Do we have an Alex in the room? No? Okay, we'll come back to Alex. Maybe Alex is stuck in that awful Queens Boulevard traffic. I don't know about you, but that was me. Okay, next is Dr. Victoria Balat or Belot. Dr. Victoria.
She's not here yet.
She's not here yet? Okay, we're gonna wrap on back. Understand that when we get to the last speaker, which is number 14, we'll loop on back. But if you're not here the second time, we gotta keep rocking and rolling. Next person is Ilya Fagin. Ilya, are you here tonight? Fagin, F-E-Y-G-I-N, Fagin. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Is that you, sir?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Mr. Fagan, is it Fagan? It is Fagan, right? You will get 3 minutes.
I just wanted to briefly address the situation that's near Queens Boulevard Tower in Regal Park. There's a planned homeless shelter that's being built there, and I represent a lot of people in the building that's next door. The first 3 floors of our building are medical offices, primarily specialists who serve a lot of sick people from all over Queens who come there to get specialist care. Unfortunately, this shelter was not really being presented in a very objective light at the meeting that I saw. The record of, the city is trying to present it as just another kind of nice city program that helps people. And there are a lot of programs that do help people help the homeless, but this is not a good program. The problem is the city has been filling these shelters with people who are committing crime as an overflow for the jails. But they're not providing resources, they're not providing law enforcement. So this is a threat for patients, for elderly people who live there. It's also obviously near the school. Some of these issues have been raised. I think an elected official spoke at the previous meeting of this board and kind of confirmed the same thing. And this is a threat. And if you look at New York One obtained the Freedom of Information Act records about what's going on in these shelters, and it's really bad. I mean, the crime has really skyrocketed. There's a lot of drug use. And our area, and I can show you pictures, has a lot of possibilities for drug deals and crime. I mean, this is what we look like. There's this area, kind of under the bridge that's very unsupervised, and they're just going to create more and more crime and more possibility of drug use. And statistics are very bad. They show that people are committing crimes repeatedly. They're like 500 times more likely to commit crime. This is not a good program. It's being misrepresented by the city. And I also represent a lot of residents and doctors. It's a large building, so I think they feel the same way. And they even went as far as for the first time in many years, to put in cards, security cards, so people can't enter the building. Even though we have a doorman, they're still concerned that there could be, such a level of intrusion. So I think it's a bad thing, and I would appreciate people here. I mean, many of them are connected, and they can give us people we can contact in the city to try to reverse this decision. Maybe we can have some contact people we can write to. Really not a good location for this, not a good program, not good aims to overflow jails there with no supervision, no law enforcement. That's my comment. Anyone would be welcome. Can email me. My email is very simple, il_f as in Frank at yahoo.com, and our building is Queens Boulevard Tower, 9229, right near the Wyndham Hotel, where this is proposed. So anyone with any suggestions, anyone to contact in the city, please email me.
Thank you. Very much appreciated. Next up is Michael Wexler from Lafayette Owners Corporation. Michael, I thought I saw you earlier. Where'd you go? Oh, there you
right
are.
here.
Okay, it's like, did you leave? Come on down, you're gonna get 5 minutes as your representative of an organization. You've been here before, I know you know the drill, Peter will give you the boot if you're not done on time, so I'm gonna hand you the mic.
Thank you. That's why I'm putting on my stopwatch.
Okay.
All right. So, thank you very much. Okay, stopwatch started. So, I'm Michael Wexler. I am the president of the board of the Lafayette Owners Corporation, which is that building right between Yellowstone Boulevard and the mini mall across the street from Parker Towers and some place you might know called Trader Joe's. So we're diagonally across. So there are a couple of things I wanted to speak to you tonight about, and I'm making sure of time. First thing that's important is something called coalitions. We need to help our great community board, a lot of people here and familiar faces, with helping us deal with problems that we have as a community. One of them that you may have realized recently has been your maintenance increase. You're wondering, why is this year different than all other years? And many buildings have said the same thing with regard to insurance rates and a couple of others. One of them that I've mentioned before is called Local Law 11, which is the scaffolding that you see on the side of the building. Every 5 years, you're required to go ahead and put scaffolding up on the side of the building to do resurfacing. The amount of money this costs most of the buildings here, which are 6-story buildings, is astronomical. Many of you might not know that Local Law 11 did not cover these buildings for a while, and then later as regulations became more stringent, they did cover our buildings. The cost for a 20-story building versus a 6-story building is very different. So you might not realize that you pay hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 or more per year, which is put away to do these Local Law 11 scaffolding and buildings repair. And this is something that I don't think we may need in our area to treat 6-story buildings like these large buildings. And I'd like to be able to discuss that with you at another time. There are a couple of other local laws that are coming up, 126, which you might not even know about, which is an elevator upgrade requirement that even the Department of Buildings doesn't really know about, except if you're upgrading your elevators. Will cost you anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 per elevator for something that you'll probably not use. You have a better chance of winning the New York Pick 6 than you have of using it. And I'm not joking. I'll tell you about that later. If you're interested, Local Law 97 is another item. These are costs that will impact our buildings. We need to have a coalition of a group of our people to be able to have united interests to deal with it so that our lower story buildings are dealt with proportionately and we don't deal with it like they're skyscrapers. Anyway, that's the first part. I do have a good thing to go ahead and announce before I get to the unintentional comedy portion, which is why I'm here tonight. Our building fortunately helped with prosecution of burglary with our NYPD and Melinda Katz's office, and I'd like to thank them. You probably have not heard about it because it's not publicized, but that's another part of our coalition in terms of safety. I work with a number of other buildings to go ahead and alert them when we see people outside who are looking in. We dealt with break-ins and also a mail theft issue. So here is the unintentional comedy portion, which I'm appealing to the the community board with, and I've already mentioned to the city council. So on our block, which is on the north side of Queens Boulevard, it's a downward sloping block on Yellowstone Boulevard. There are 2 trees on the corner you probably didn't notice. Now, some things you don't notice until you take a look is also that this block happens to have a service lane, which is that area where you put parking meters and trees, for example, is only 29 inches wide. This is much less wide than the average 48 inches on all other blocks. But the city planted some of these trees a whole bunch of years ago. The roots have broken out and broken the sidewalk, and now it needs a repair. So we reached out to the city to repair the sidewalk, and the answer was we need to fix the neighborhood in order to accommodate the trees. You're probably wondering, what does that mean? So I passed out these photos. They want us to go ahead and create, and I'm not joking, a 38-foot tree pit, build a ramp over the roots, spend tens of thousands of dollars to make sure that this does not harm the tree and goes sloping downwards. So I figured that rather than going ahead and calling this some sort of park that's designated to them and wondering why the sidewalk would be widened, I would come here and ask the community board to help me on this mission. So ironically, just before I came here, what makes this even the more unintentional comedy is I sent the Parks Department a notice telling them this is a terrible plan and that we wanted to go ahead and renew their permit. We'll go ahead and we'll fix it next week. On Monday, I received a notice from the Parks Department. They refused to give us their permit because it's illegal. So we are stuck without being able to fix the sidewalk, and if we don't get help from someone who can openly influence, you will have a huge 38-foot dirt tree pit on Yellowstone Boulevard. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next up is someone on WebEx. Is Wendy on? What happened to our screen? Okay, we'll go back to that when we get our screen fixed. So next, we go to Cheryl Fedek.
Okay, I'm coming.
Cheryl Fedek will be here tonight speaking on behalf of the Independent Community Action Network.
Thank you.
She will get 5
We're
minutes.
still in the middle of organizing, so I apologize again. I keep apologizing, but I'm trying.
Peter will tell you when you have 30 seconds and 5.
My name is Cheryl Fettig. You have to go to the microphone. My name is Cheryl Fettig. Many of you know me. I'm a lifelong resident of Rego Park, and I'm a homeowner. And I'm deeply concerned and opposed to the plan for the shelter on 93rd Street in Rego Park. There are various forms of petitions going around the neighborhood. I wrote one of them to show opposition, to express opposition, and raise questions. And I believe that there's over 400 to 500 signatures already obtained, and we just started it several days ago. So I believe the community en masse is really opposed to the current proposal. Okay. There was a draft resolution passed on January 23rd regarding a community advisory board. There are so many open questions and concerns that I really cannot understand how any resolution can be passed at this point. We should be demanding answers from the city and negotiating with the city to get a proper plan to really help residents and the homeless. The draft resolution states that the residents of Rego Park recognize and acknowledge their responsibility for providing for this type of facility. I don't know about any survey or study or questionnaire that was sent out, and I've just reached out as a private citizen and see that people are very deeply concerned. I've been in touch since the last community board meeting with many community residents, and most oppose the proposed shelter. It's located on the same block as an apartment building and a playground, near elementary schools, and is in a densely populated residential area. We should help the homeless, and others in need. There are current alternatives and other programs. For example, and again, I'm just learning about this, I'm reaching out to the city and to others. People can rent part of their homes or apartments, believe it or not, and the city will give you a stipend. I was told, I haven't, don't know this definitely, but I was told by a couple of sources that New York City will pay $1,800 per month if you will give part of your house to take in someone in need. So we should be exploring that. Maybe some of the people could, I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay, all right. We should be negotiating with the city to provide for temporary and permanent housing. We need affordable housing for families, seniors, vets, and local residents. The current proposal is not good for either the homeless or our community. My understanding is that there's another shelter also planned for Queens Boulevard, and also not enough information has been provided to the public. I live 2 blocks away. There's no sign up that says this is a proposed homeless shelter or transitional housing or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I want you to know that in 2023, I was robbed twice in Rego Park. One of the times was actually at that construction site, outside the construction site. And these are 2 open cases. I have been reaching out, as I said, to the city government to obtain more information, and we should press them on this. I want to just go over some of the questions. I have copies for those who would like them. one of the circulating petitions that raises various questions and concerns. One is the location that I've already discussed. It's an improper place to put a homeless shelter. One concern is the population. Who will be using the shelter? I was here at the community board meeting and listened to the DSS.
30 seconds.
We need to know who is coming into our neighborhood and provide proper facilities for them and for our neighborhood. Also, the security has not been addressed, the services, the food, the income of the clients or residents, the contracts, which are crucial here. You can't have a resolution until you know what the contracts are with the city of New York. And there are many other questions. So, thank you very much for listening to me. And the petitions are still being circulated, and we're really trying to do the best for the community. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Next up is Wendy. Wendy Wee on WebEx. I see she's been promoted. I'm going to give the microphone. We're going to work on the technical difficulties with Wendy and miracle. Okay, hold on.
Okay. City directed and the legal for over 7 years. Our neighborhood is well.
We're not getting that. We're not getting that, Heather. Maybe I should have.
Okay, is it okay? Okay. I'm gonna. Okay. And the thing is, grand men shouted to our neighborhood. We are very worried that the community will. We are working-class people worried about our safety and the safety of elderly people and the children and the school with no informational. So we can wrap up them but still the safety to our center. We do not want our neighborhood to be in a lot for any problem. Thank you for taking our time.
So basically, just to summarize, she said, that they're good, hardworking people, that they are concerned specifically for the safety and the children in this community. Just in case y'all couldn't hear it, I wanted to highlight that. Yes, Matt? In relation to the homeless shelter, my apologies. She's been a Regal Park neighbor for some time. Next up is Irina. Come on down. You get 3 minutes. You'll be given your 30-second warning, and then wrap it up.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you already remember me. The crime is being prepared to be committed on the Forest Hill Stadium on the 4th of May. 17,000 concert goers will come to enjoy themselves, while 8,000 Forest Hill citizens will be subjected to insane noise, frightening vibration of the houses, traffic congestion, illegal parking that makes us even dangerous to walk the streets, piles of garbage, public toilet resulted from the urination of the concert goers, drunk and drugged mobs that become aggressive when we, the citizens, ask them politely to leave the block or to not to park their cars on our driveways. Property trespassing. People just come, have picnics on our properties, and do a lot of other things. And all of these atrocities happen here. Do you know why? Because it is good for economy and business, according to the words of Senator Dabo, Assemblyman Hevesi, Councilwoman Elaine Schulman, and Melinda Katz. Today I have Here, 450 people within 2 months, 2.5 months that I collected. People and businesses who signed my petition to stop the concerts. I promised all 450 people to meet with these politicians and the board to report the problem and stop the crime. I kept my promise. Guess what? These politicians don't care about Forest Hill citizens. They do nothing to stop the concert. On the contrary, the politicians promote these concerts. Why? Because it is good for their business. I mean their pockets. I was naive to disbelieve the Forest Hill citizens who were told me about corruption of our political system. After meeting with the politicians, I met with all of them. And the board too. I know nobody cares about the suffering of Forest Hill citizens. What they care about is filling their pockets with the money. And you, the board, haven't even passed any resolution so far to stop this crime. Well, you haven't stirred a finger to condemn the crime and the actions of the corrupted politicians. By doing nothing, you too, destroy the lives of Forest Hill citizens. Unfortunately, these concerts destroy the germ of Queens, our neighborhood too. Not only the lives of every citizen there, but also the neighborhood which used to be the germ of Queens.
Okay, Ken Karp, you're up next, please. Ken Karp? Ken, not here? Okay, we're moving on. Michael Dunn, come on down. Good evening, sir. Okay, he's gonna time you. He'll give you your 30-second warning, okay? You turn and face the room.
I'm actually going to scrub one of my comments, so I'll save a little bit of time there. My first comment is on the Queens bus redesign. I will email a simple to-the-point document to Mr. Beadle and Mr. Arcadi later, probably by the end of the weekend, to support my request, which is I respectfully ask CB6 to urge the MTA to not remove the eastbound Q60 bus stop at Queens Boulevard and Elliott Avenue, which is right in front of the Regal Park Post Office. When my mother has to come to Forest Hills for medical appointments, that's the bus stop we use. It's easier for her, she uses a walker. If the MTA insists that it must be removed, I have a compromise solution, which I'll put on the map that I'll be sending to you gentlemen. It's simply that the next eastbound stop at 63rd Avenue be pushed or pulled back to the block before. That's 62nd and 63rd Avenues. Okay, that's it on Queens bus redesign. Homeless shelter. Okay, for those that do not recall, first of all, I want to thank y'all for letting me speak last month, and I want to thank all of you up here for taking my draft resolution and running with it. I was afraid you were going to toss me out of here and laugh in my face, but I thank you for at least listening to it and using part of it. If anybody out there has an issue with my draft resolution, talk to me outside face to face. It's based on facts. All right, again, my mother and I and our caregiver, we live on 6122 Saunders Street, which is right around the corner from the Family and Children's Shelter and across Queens Boulevard from the Men's Shelter. When we have to walk to Rego Center or to Burger King or Lost Battalion Hall, when that gets finally renovated for our senior activities, we're going to be walking right by that homeless men's shelter. So I'm not worried about it. My mother and some of her elderly neighbors on Saunders Street are, understandably, they're older. They would be defenseless if something were to happen to them. But the reason why I said the thing about I drafted that resolution is based on facts. I was the one that put in the comment about using a hotel. Last April, thanks, Peter, my family had a mini reunion and we had too many guests to fit in the house. 2 of them went into that Wyndham Garden Hotel. It sure was a hell of a lot easier to walk over and get them from over there than to drive to LaGuardia to put them up in the hotel over there. I got a whole bunch more. I'm gonna stop it right here. So I'm canceling that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next up is Evan Bacardi. Evan, are you here this evening? Evan Bacardi? I don't see you, so I'm gonna move along. Next is no, he said he was coming in person. Is he on the list? You just never know, people change their minds. We're entitled. Okay, moving along, we'll come back, we'll try to loop back. Stephanie H. Come on down, Stephanie. Stephanie will be speaking on behalf of the Queens Boulevard Tower Condominium. Stephanie will get 5 minutes this evening. Stephanie, this is Peter Beadle. He will be timing you at 30 seconds. He'll let you know that you have 30 seconds to wrap it all up, okay? Thank you. Nice to see you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephanie. You can call me Sunshine. We, residents, parents, homeowners, and business owners are writing to express our deep opposition about the homeless shelter at Windham Hotel. While understanding the importance of providing housing assistance to those in need, we believe the proximity of the homeless shelter to residences, schools, playgrounds, daycares, businesses, and malls is premature and may have the risk of several unintended consequences in our community. This will be approximately 50 feet from our building Tower Condo's main entrance and 10 feet from its parking garage. Friends whose neighborhood that has existing shelters are complaining of sleepless nights due to loud noises, fights, drugs, cases of sexual assaults, and robbery too. Their surroundings become filthy and not safe anymore. We don't want this right next to our home. We don't want this right next to our home. We don't want crime in our area. The concept of homeless shelters seemingly happened overnight without any input from the community residents. Safety, peace of mind, and well-being of our families are paramount. Department of Social Services and CB6 disenfranchise residents to have a desirable place to live, not to mention the negative impact of the value of our hard-earned investment on our properties. It is demoralizing to the residents and community that this plan did not involve taking time to recognize any concern from us, the community members. This plan is anticipated to happen March, April 2004, and it is causing us intense mental and emotional distress. I myself can function well at work due to this anxiety. You might feel the same way if a shelter will be right next to your home. We are taxpayers and they are using our money against our quality of life. As a community, we are prepared to ensure that what this community has built is not swept in a hidden corridor of bureaucracy. To the City Mayor of New York, members of the City Council, elected officials, community board members, community members, we hold you to honor your commitment. We kindly request a thorough assessment of an alternative location that could potentially minimize the impact of this to our community. We look forward to hearing about the step being taken to address our concern. I thank you for your time.
Next up is Don Quay. Don Quay, are you here this evening? Okay, we'll come back. Keith Mazzarello. Keith, No? Okay, this is my final loop back on people who weren't here when first called. Alex Shehobaso? Alex? Okay, no. Dr. Victoria? Okay, Dr. Victoria is here. Hi. Glad you're able to make it. You can stand over here. You're very welcome. You'll get 3 minutes, and Peter will let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining.
Hello, my name is Dr. Victoria Ballard. I'm a nephrologist and internist, and I work in 9229 Queens Boulevard. I'm not only speaking on behalf of myself and other doctors in the building, but I'm also speaking on behalf of thousands of patients that visit this building, as well as besides the residents. There are 2 floors of medical offices. Some medical offices have a very large number of patients. My patients, for example, are elderly, disabled. Many of them take a great deal of effort to come to the office for appointments. In my specialty, there are very few appointments in Queens. It's difficult to get a timely appointment. I work 4 days a week and try to provide the best service that I can to the community to have available appointments for patients. A homeless shelter in the area will undoubtedly scare people away who are already elderly. If they see that homeless are in the area, if they see that their statistics of increased crime, they will be missing appointments. Their medical care will be impacted. And this will just snowball into something much larger than just a homeless shelter. So I also wanted to point out that I have some pictures that I wanted to share of the area. This is right next to the building. It's already right next to the underpass of the Long Island Expressway. When I've walked there in the past, there have already been people sleeping there and doing who knows what. This will be a haven for drug addicts, especially for homeless shelters nearby. There is plenty of space to do anything there, drug deals, taking drugs, and with this kind of situation, there's going to be more crime in the area undoubtedly. So there's 2 sides of this Long Island Expressway underpass. There's one side that's right here on the side of Horace Harding Expressway, and one side on the way to the subway. So what I'm saying is that this kind of area next to a homeless shelter, I think is also going to be disastrous. It'll be an area where people are going to congregate, where more crime and loitering and other negative activities are going to happen. So on behalf of the doctors, the residents, and most of all the patients, I would like to oppose this homeless shelter.
Thank you. Next, I would be looking for Ken Karp. Did you arrive, Ken? Okay, and then Evan Bacardi? No? Okay, then the last was Dong Hui? No? Okay, we are now closing the public forum session of this meeting. We are now moving into our business meeting. This is a reminder to our board members that when it is your turn to speak tonight, please use a microphone. We were reviewing recordings and we hear you way better with a microphone on the recordings than we would if you don't use one. So we're gonna try to keep one on each side of the room and just, hot potato it to the next person if you don't mind. We're gonna move on to the minutes. There was an updated set of minutes that were distributed, I believe, on Friday. Thanks, Maria. So I wanted to see if there were any questions and or issues or changes to be made to those minutes. Any changes, any issues, any concerns? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the minutes? A motion from Mark. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, Mark and Howie. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Great. If you haven't checked in with Barbara in the back, please do to sign in for attendance tonight, because we don't want to make a mistake and mark you as not being here tonight. Okay, moving on to my chair's report tonight. I just have a few items and I'm going to try to bang them out. First of all, I want to give credit where credit is due. Over the past month, with an intense ratcheting up this week, our office has addressed repeated calls regarding the shelter that is on our agenda tonight, sometimes spending over 30 minutes with one constituent. I am grateful for the efforts of Christine, Barbara, and Maria that work very hard to communicate the same facts over and over again to our community, because that's what's really important. So thank you guys so much for helping get the message out there. Next, the executive committee met on Monday to discuss basically two items: meeting efficiency and the open meetings law. I'm going to be talking about meetings tonight real quickly. Over the past 9 months, we have made several changes to help us make our public meetings run more smoothly and efficiently. We've eliminated reading public comments aloud. We've reduced public comment times for those outside of the district, et cetera, trying to center our community members. And along those lines tonight, we're going to make a couple other adjustments, hopefully, that will help us be more productive and help us fill our charter mandated role. There will be no more promotional presentations in board meetings. Those presentations will be pushed into the appropriate committee. We will still get those presentations, but it will be on a committee level. So for example, the Con Ed presentation we got last week would not have typically happened under this guideline that we're putting together. It would be pushed to a committee meeting, because right now we have a lot of stuff that we have to deliberate over, vote on, and consider, and there just isn't the time to give those presentations the time that they deserve. Number two, we're going to continue to push for people to attend committee meetings, especially when the subject of those meetings is related to an item that is up for vote at the upcoming board meeting. And here's why. Most of those meetings are briefings. You can attend them from home, in your pajamas, eating dinner, and you can get that information. And you can spend more time asking the multitude of questions that we do have, because a lot of this stuff is really new and really dense, and we need that time to scrutinize, and we don't always have the luxury of time in these big meetings. So if you're not on that committee, understand you can still attend that committee meeting. Call the office, they'll hook you up, they'll tell you how to get hooked up if you've never done that before. But please try to, if you know that you have questions about something that we're going to be voting on, please consider going to those committee meetings. The other thing is, beyond these measures, the executive committee also agreed that ensuring our board meetings run efficiently is all of our responsibility. We all need to keep our comments succinct, limit our questions to the most pressing question, and when you have more than one question, reach out ahead of time to the chair, to the committee chairs, or the office with any questions in advance where they can spend time and actually make sure that you have the information that you need. We also recognize that the amount of work and how consequential this work is that we've had lately is much larger than we've ever had. It's unprecedented. And we're trying our best to balance the need for increased efficiencies, but also our need to scrutinize these text amendments, these shelter projects, these cannabis businesses, and we need to give it time. And we know that sometimes in these board meetings that we don't have those times. So we're going to continue to work really hard on getting this done. And keeping to that end, we're going to talk about committees real quick. Please, if you're on a committee and you get an email from your chair, can you please write them back within 5 days, please? We've had a couple issues with a couple committees where that seems to be falling apart a little bit. So if y'all could help me out with that, you're volunteers. But I think 5 days is enough time. At least that's what Google says, because Google reminds me after 3 days that I've not responded to somebody. So if you use Google, let Google tell you, you forgot, and then you can email a person back. It gets me out of a lot of messes. Also, if you're not going to be able to attend a meeting, just let your chair know, because if it happens to be that there's a bug going around and like 5 out of 7 people can't make it, then it'll let the chair know to reschedule, which is fine if 5 out of 7 people are sick. So please just be in better communication with your chairs, especially when your chair reaches out and says, hey, I want to pick a date for a meeting. What would you pick? That's actually what I would consider to be a best practice from a chair, because they're not pushing a date on you. They're asking for what works best for you, which is an actual absolute best practice as far as I'm concerned. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Lastly, in closing, sorry, I'm trying to get through all this. we got our responses from OMB for our budget priorities. And Mark, myself, and Christine spent this week going line by line over the budget priority answers, and we are working on responding to them. We will be sending responses to OMB, some responses to agencies, and some responses to elected officials. We will give you a complete report. It will be in writing, I'm sorry. It will be a reading assignment because we won't have time to actually fit that into our next 2 months. That's how busy we are. So we will be getting that out to you probably in the next 30 days. And that is the end of my report.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm going to try to be just as brief as Heather because we have a lot that we still need to go over. I just want to remind everybody, community board applications are due February 15th. It's February 16th. Thanks, Howie. If you did not submit your renewal application, please submit it because the borough president is emailing me people that have not resubmitted. If you think you're one of those people, contact me. If anybody from the public wants to apply to be on the community board, you can go to the borough president's website and apply to be a member of Community Board 6. We held a district service cabinet meeting on January 24th. All the agency reps reported things that are happening. Some of the big takeaways are the permanent dining out program will be coming soon. They will give us all the information and we'll pass it out to you guys. So those outdoor dining structures that were put out during COVID, they're now coming out with a permanent program which will have a lot more restrictions. It will have specifics as to how the sheds should look and things like that. So we will get that information out to you guys. We'll get it out to our businesses so that if they want to be part of the program, they're following all the rules. Let's see. We reached out to DDC and the Queens Library. We haven't had an update recently on the Rego Park Library. So we asked them if they can come to a committee meeting and give us an update. So we have not heard back, but we will update you as soon as we have that date. We're hoping it was supposed to be in construction this year. It seems like now it's going to be next year. So we're looking for some information after 30 years of waiting. One note about committee meetings, our calendar fills up very quick. So if you want to schedule a meeting for March, contact me now. Our February calendar is already full. So we need to get those meetings in the calendar before it's too late. Lastly, I will just tell you that I testified at the Queens Borough President's budget hearings. I spoke about some of our top budget priorities, which include senior affordable housing, Meals on Wheels, and the need for upgraded sewer infrastructure. We all know that that's a need in our community. The more buildings that we get going up in the area, we need to keep up with the sewers, we need to keep them clean, and we need to upgrade them as soon as we can. So those are some things I spoke about at the hearings. If anybody has any questions, you know where to find me. That's it.
And I have to say, Christine, for the first time doing a budget hearing testimony, she really was bananas. It was great. It was totally great. So I was really pleased. I thought it went great. And it was really nice because the borough president actually asked about the Rego Park Library without us having to ask him. So it was kind of nice to know it's on the top of his mind. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Chair Gladys Sandoval was supposed to be here tonight to do the report, but as stuff happened, she got stuck at work. Thankfully, I was at the meeting, and so I'm going to help us sort of run through this tonight. We've got about 4 different things to vote on before. They're not really anything new to us. The first will be adult use retail cannabis dispensaries. Do we have the folks from 6555 Woodhaven here tonight? Okay, come on down. We met with these folks a month ago. They were to be here last month, but unfortunately, COVID happened. Which was happening a lot back then. So they are a business that we will be voting on tonight. The committee did vote to approve. So I'm just going to give him a quick opportunity to introduce himself, and then I will give us about 5 minutes for any questions or concerns that you may have. Here you go.
Appreciate it very much. Good evening. My name is Fred Polsinelli. I'm here on behalf of Marina Katieva at 6555 Woodhaven Boulevard. Marina is a lifelong resident of this community. And she makes a really good example of somebody who the New York State OCM wants to license for adult use cannabis. Female entrepreneur, has taken into account all security measures for the location, including physical and tech. She's hired a world-class team, and this team's got the experience to run this operation successfully. So, you know, she's thankful for the opportunity to participate. She doesn't know if she's going to win. You know, we're at the mercy of New York State right now, who's going through the process, but we know that there are many good applicants in this community, and you know, you're going to hear from another one shortly. And so I think that it's an opportunity for the neighborhood to help drive out some of this illicit activity by licensing regulated new companies. So with that being said, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Now, do you have, are there any questions tonight? We'll take some from this side first, if there are any, from the right of the room. Okay, seeing as there are none, I shall move to the left. Any questions from the left of the room? Okay, and then, are there any questions on the screen? No questions there. Okay, and any questions from the executive team up front? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next, he got it. Yes, Effie. For me. The vote was to approve. Oh, I have to pull up, you're asking me a numbers question. My husband knows better than that.
I have Liza's notes if you would like me to see.
Yeah. Please, because I'm trying to find them in my email. I think it was it unanimous?
It was. So it was a unanimous decision, but we did not have enough to make quorum, so it was a straw poll.
Yes.
Does that
Thank
answer
you.
your question? Or does that answer your question? Sorry.
Okay. Great, and then I'm gonna call down the folks from 6354 108th Street. Come on down. If there's only one who wants to speak, one can come down. If y'all want to speak, come on down. I mean, you put the suits on, you might as well. Yeah, and I like the new fashion, not wearing a tie. You know, not too business, right?
So I'm actually going to give the mic over to Lewis. I'm here as his rep and to assist him, but this is actually his application, his license, so he's going to introduce himself.
My name is Louis Rupa. I'm also a lifelong resident of Queens. I'm originally from Howard Beach, but I chose this location because I'm familiar with the area as well. So that's really all I got. You already explained everything else. Yeah, is there anything else?
Well, fun fact, his previous business was sports memorabilia. So for all of you sports folks out there, that was kind of his biz.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm married to a Yankees fan, 27 years.
There you go.
So are there any questions? I'm sorry, Bruce, I know I disappointed you tonight, long lifetime Mets fan and all, but that's okay. Any questions? The committee recommended, and Brentley, we're gonna do like the Brentley Heather show. So Brentley, what was the vote?
It was unanimous as well.
It was a straw poll, yes.
Straw poll, because we did not meet quorum, but yes.
Okay, and we had, and so I want to see if there are any questions from the board. I see a question from Serena. Can someone get Serena a microphone, please? Thank you. One's coming on down.
It's a simple question. I just want. You have to put it on.
Just hold it down.
I didn't get where is this going to be located?
Forest Hill, 6354 108th Street.
What's
If you go TD building?
Yeah, the old TD Bank over there.
That's not gonna go far?
Nope, not over there. You need a microphone, girl. Can we pass the microphone down to Matt, please?
I'd just like to know how many people actually voted from the committee.
Oh, can you give that? Because do we have a breakdown between, because we also had several non-committee members there too. These meetings have drawn several non-committee members as well.
So Gladys, our co-chair, and 3 other people were in attendance at our committee.
4.
So that's 4 committee
Four.
members.
4 committee members, yes.
And
That is a good question for Heather. 5 or 7? I don't know exactly.
it has to be, it's always 50% plus 1. So I think one person, we were short 1 person for that committee.
And that just speaks to Heather's point before that people need to come to committee meetings.
Yes.
On a committee.
Yeah, no, it's true. And we actually had 1 person like literally run from their house down to our meeting to help us get close to quorum. So, That's the vote. Do we have any more questions for the owners? Any, Pat Morgan. Can we get Pat Morgan a mic, please? Thank you.
Just a quick question. How far is this from Halsey?
It's a block.
Very close.
Halsey is on,
Second and 63rd
It's 102
Avenue.
100, say that again, Howie?
102 and 63rd Avenue.
102 and 63, so it's two long blocks.
The hours of operation.
Okay?
And what's the footage that businesses have to be from?
Because it's not even a matter of footage. The fact that Halsey is not on 108th Street, it doesn't. You have to have, the school has to be on the same street.
To answer your question,
Yeah, but it also has to be on the same street, and it also has to have full possession of the building within it, that it is within. So it's not on, since it's on 102, and this is on 108, Halsey wouldn't factor in. Now, on 108 is PS 220, but PS 220 is well outside of the 500 feet. So
But it does on the corner of 63rd.
it has to have its address be on 108th Street. Halsey's address is not on 108th Street. In fact, I think their address would be on 102.
We're actually not pending, we've already been approved this location by the OCM, so it meets all.
So they're meeting with us as a courtesy tonight.
All right, thank you for the explanation.
Thank you, Pat, for the questions.
Heather,
Can we
Heather.
pass the mic down to David Aronoff? Okay, hold on.
Heather, can I just say one thing
Who?
before, this might answer a question that
Okay.
we did have one question that was raised by the committee that Gladys did mention in her email.
Yes.
We just wanted to just raise the concern for the meeting regarding some hours of operation based around the proximity of the schools. We talked about that, there may be a change, I don't know if you kind of come to change.
We've had our email. So we've had our email, I'm sure a few other consultants, participants can attest to this. The portal had issues when you were plugging in your hours, so right now, we've put in to change them. I believe it's set 9 to 9 or something. When we plugged into the portal, you could only plug in 2 different hour options. Those are not our actual set, but that's what's on record. We're working with OCM to resolve the portal issue and put in our correct hours.
What are your correct
Which are?
We've discussed different hours. I believe right now it's 10 to 7 is what, and there's been back and forth as to whether you're allowed more than 8 hours a day, more than 10 hours a day. We're working with OCM. We haven't gotten to the step of opening yet. That's part of our final inspection. So I think we've been kind of pushed down the road as far as our complaint from the portal system. Right now, I believe the goal is either 10 to 7 or 9 to 7, depending on what they will allow.
Okay, I see David, okay, I'm gonna
Call in this order, David Aronoff, Salwa Badia. Salwa, yes. Marcel, I'm gonna hold on you because you were at the committee meeting, sorry, girl. I'll come back, I'll leave you back. Martha, did you have a question? Because I saw you holding a mic. So I'll call on you third. So David, go first with your question.
Thank you. I think for the other applications, we were able to actually see the answers to different questions. I don't know if we received for this one specifically. But can you speak a little bit about the security measures that are going to be in place? It's a very large storefront, the former TD Bank location, and then are the windows going to be see-through for people to see everything inside the store because it wraps around?
We did, so we had gotten feedback regarding tinting the windows. They were giving different people issue on tinting the windows for not leaving a certain space untinted to put your 2 pieces of paper in. We got the approval, we can tint the windows, we just have to leave that space to put those placards or signage, and we will be tinting the windows, yes. And for security, we'll be using Myers. It's very popular with a lot of these licenses. They write the program for all of these licenses. We'll be using the same thing that they write for every card applicant in the state.
And a couple of the previous applicants said that they won't be selling any like edibles, for example, that look like candy or marketed towards children. Are you going to be selling products
Well,
like
so
that?
the state regulations would not allow the edibles to be what you're describing, marketed towards children, look like a Scooby-Doo. I mean, that's not something that can exist in New York or something that we can purchase through the Dutchy system, so we don't intend to carry that now.
Salva?
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
In regard to your signage outside, you know, we talked a lot about the aesthetics of Frigo Park, Forest Hills, et cetera. My companion here already shared a lot of the questions, but in terms of signage, are you gonna match the aesthetic of the area, or is it gonna be neon signage and that sort of vibe?
We're actually restricted to one outdoor sign of our name. No, we're not gonna be doing the neon marijuana leaves or anything. It's out of regs and not within our marketing ideas either, so.
Awesome, I think that'd be helpful. And you already asked that one, David. Oh, and then, totally for my personal edification, are y'all concerned at all about the competition in this type of establishment? Because folks here kind of keep asking about these popping up. Is that a concern, or are people just letting the cannabis market
New York,
enjoy?
and this is my personal opinion, not speaking on while New York is a more saturated market, I think when you come in understanding the cannabis industry correctly, a lot of people are transitioning from things like, you know, being a chef, etc. I think you have to bring in consultants. You have to bring in a lot of different parts to the machine. I think that's the people who will fail, is come in and think they can be the business owner, run this entire, not outsource, you know, input for security, input for staffing. I think those are the people who will fail, and so a lot of it just comes down to properly relying on partners in the state. And so I'm not worried about it, I guess, is my answer.
Next would be Martha.
Thank you.
No. Push it down. This is real good.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, I can hear myself. So I thank you for your presentation. My question is, I guess it's more for everybody's understanding. We have the presentations, we have people applying legally the right way. What is going to be happening to those established stores that have not applied the right way and have been in existence for a couple of years? I just want, that's not a question for you. This is actually a question for the community board, so I can understand what's our next step and what's going on.
This is an ongoing enforcement issue that there seems to be. Actually, David Shantz actually sent me a couple articles a couple weeks ago about some stuff that the governor is doing, that they're trying to do, right, David? That the governor's trying to do, and I know that we know that the sheriff's department is just not equipped with sufficient staff. I think the goal is that, you know, you bring in shops that are doing it the right way with safer product. The goal is that those illegal shops become less appealing to folks. Now, they'll find other ways, of course, to try to be appealing. They'll drive their prices down and do different things, just like a Walmart would do to compete with a Target, because it's a retail business. But at the same time, we need to see increased enforcement, and that's where we need to be, you know, reaching out as community members to say, you know, we've been approving a variety of these shops. We want these shops to thrive. We want to get the illegal shops out of here. We want to know that these substances are controlled, that our children are safe, that they're not going to walk into some arbitrary place and purchase something that they're not legally allowed to purchase, right? That's the goal. And so I think we, as a board, could choose, if so necessary, to write our elected officials, which after redistricting, we've got more than we need, more than I have fingers and toes, and ask them for proper enforcement, for proper funding so that these places are shut down. I don't know if that's the correct solution. It could even, because one of the things that happens is they get shut down, they pop back up again. But this is a thing that we can kind of, Christina and I can take this back and see what committee would be appropriate to work on this issue. I know Consumer Affairs is doing the approval, but it could be something that could be a dual committee effort. So let Christina and I take this back so that we can properly address this as a board, because this has come up repeatedly. I don't think any of us want shops in their neighborhood that aren't going about it the right way. This program was set up to help people to actually be a program for reparations. And so that's what we are wanting to have happen. And we have a couple applicants that fit that bill, and I'm very proud of that fact as a chair. So we want to make sure that this is being done right, that the right people are getting the business, because the other folks are stealing business from people who are supposed to be benefiting from this reparations type process. Matt, I see your question. I'm going to take a last question from Matt. I'm sorry. Because we got to move on, guys. We have a lot.
Thank you.
We got to talk buses.
Statement and a question. I guess I'm wondering why we don't empower the NYPD like they were be empowered to give a ticket for underage drinking, but they wouldn't do the same thing here for this.
I get that.
Right. So that's a statement. I feel like we should take that up.
Yeah.
A question for the gentleman is I feel like you didn't really answer the question about the candy. I'm not talking about Scooby-Doo. I'm talking about gummies. I'm talking about hemp or Delta 8 or other THC products that look like Skittles or M&M's candy. Are you going to be selling anything that looks like candy?
No, everything that we source is through the Dutchy system via the OCN. Those producers are not allowed to manufacture and sell us products that look like that. It'd be outside the regs.
Thank you.
So if they produce it and get caught, we're not buying it, and they'll be in a.
We're buying it from the proper people that you're allowed to.
So how it works, we have a system called Dutchy. We are required to buy. We don't just go buy product from California, Colorado. We buy from New York processors who have their license to do that.
Okay.
They're only allowed to produce those gummies to look within the regs. So it's not an issue that we're concerned with. So
thanks.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Go ahead and sit on down. Appreciate that, and I really appreciate the questions. There's still a lot to learn. Yes, Effie. Yes. It's a straw poll. It's not an actual official vote. That's why it's more consultative in nature. That's why we contextualize it as a straw poll. There's nothing official ever about a straw poll. So that's why we report it as such, and that's why we really need quorum. 1 second. He had another question, and then we'll.
Add something as the parliamentarian here. The situation here is, yes, it doesn't have a quorum, but if someone makes a motion to approve what the committee had stated, not necessarily approve the committee as per committee report, but approve what was presented to the board, then that is an absolutely legitimate proposal to make, and if it's properly made and seconded, it's totally official.
So that kind of begs the question, are you allowed to make motions?
Yes, if someone can make a motion, yes, they'll make a motion to approve what the straw poll of the committee had dealt with, as opposed to simply having the committee submit this report. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, you had something?
Yeah, the other question is, I just want to understand the regulation. So like if this is a street and there's like a shop here, on the same street you cannot have a school. But on the same block, just around the corner, you can have a school that's a different street. That's allowed. Is that correct?
Yes, and the interesting thing is, last meeting, I believe we had one that is actually it's either I think it's in the same building, but definitely yes, of a school, but part of the law is that you have to have possession of the whole building. And what we have recognized as a committee, and we've talked extensively about this, is that this law doesn't really fit how New York does education. Because we have a lot of early education that are first floor buildings, that they don't own the whole building. They don't need to own the whole building. And so we do believe that there are some inconsistencies with how the law is written and how it works. But I think at this point, every building, every shop seems to be in compliance. Yes.
Can I just say it's the same with liquor stores? So like if you have a school, on our block on Queens Boulevard, that's a partial school building. The liquor store is literally next door to it, right? Because it's not a full, so it's the same kind of regulations that you're seeing with liquor stores. Same concept. You can't, if you're not 21, you can't enter. Same exact thing.
Thank you.
That's a solid point. Okay, we need to move forward, not move on. So I need a motion.
So I would make a motion to support the straw poll recommendation made by the committee. And on both items, yes.
Okay, I have a second. Okay.
Okay, any questions with the motion on the floor?
No, I want to second.
Okay,
Can I
so-
second it?
Yeah, you can second it, my mama, well, she can't really second it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a roll call vote, and it's gonna be like yes, yes. It'll be for Woodhaven Boulevard and 108th Street. Unless, are there any objections, or do you think we can do a voice vote? I was reading your face, you know. Okay, so, okay, we'll try a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you, Michael Arcadi, for always helping us be even more efficient. Okay, moving on to the things we are very most familiar with, liquor licenses. And we've now established that they can be right next door to the schools, although I think that helps explain some teachers. No, I'm kidding. That's just terrible. Okay, so new liquor licenses. Barbecue Chicken, Don Alex at 9705 64th Avenue in Rego Park. And then Boutique Malay, it's Indo Cuisine and Bar at 9534 Queens Boulevard, Rego Park. And then our renewals are Onda at Onda 07 Corporation at 9618 Queens Boulevard, Rego Park. And The Boond at 100-30B Queens Boulevard, Forest Hills. I would like to make a motion to vote on the liquor licenses. Any questions, concerns?
The committee voted unanimously to approve the new applications and the renewal applications.
And these votes were taken separate from that meeting that we had at Rego Park. So we had unanimous. So, no. If there was anything from the 112, we'd say that's straight up front. That's always a concern for us. And we're kind of lucky, we don't get that a whole lot here. Okay, so, on the new liquor licenses, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Would say, are you opposing? No. You don't have to repeat me, my friend. Okay, so you're a yes. Okay, so on the renewals, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Peter, stop it. Okay, so next up is the street activity licenses, street activity permits. They are, we have a variety tonight. If you have your agenda, I'm not gonna read them all. They're all very familiar to us. There are the two on Austin Street. You know, there's the one on there's two on 63rd Drive. There is the festival that is held by the 112, and then there's also the Forest Hills Jewish. The recommendation from the committee was to approve the street activity permits with the following caveat, that we ask that each of these events be planned around the values of equity, diversity, and belonging and inclusion in pertaining to the applicants for booths, etc., in regards to civic organizations. Peter?
I'd like to move to accept the committee's recommendation, including the proviso, but also add an additional provision.
Right, so my motion is to accept the committee's recommendation, including that proviso, but to also add an additional provision explicitly stating that all applicants shall not unreasonably refuse any local community or civic organization from the applicants for the street permits.
Okay. Oh, got it. Okay.
Right, as a condition of the street permit, that they shall not unreasonably refuse any local community or civic group from tabling at the event, provided that there is space available and they satisfy the requirements of the operator of the street fair. I make this motion this way because we have had some incidents and complaints made from civic groups, and I was involved in one in which the operator had space, they were happy to have our group table, and then the sponsor of that street fair later decided, no, my group, which related to Austin Street, could not be allowed to table at that event. And the operator called us back, said he was sorry, and we couldn't have the table. But, you know, it's a local group. You don't have to agree with all the local groups. We never do agree with each other all the time, right? That's not the right standard. But the question is, if these street fairs are going to be using our public space, and there are groups of us who wish to organize, and space is available, and we otherwise meet the requirements, then there shouldn't be some arbitrary ruling from an entity that might not like that particular opinion to just say no. If you're using public space, then it's public space. That's how I see it. Anyway, that's my motion.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we got a second on the motion from LT, so first was Peter, second is LT Chiazio, okay. Any questions on the motion? Go ahead, can someone pass the Teresa microphone? You guys are doing really good with the hot potato microphone tonight, thank you.
Yeah, just turn it on.
Fantastic. Okay, here we go. Good evening and thank you for everything. Just in the interest of full disclosure, what group are you referring to, Peter? Thank you.
Yeah, so that group is Neighbors for a Safer Austin Street.
Okay, any other questions? Bruce Grossberg, can someone pass Bruce a mic? Thank you. Good evening, Bruce. Top, middle.
On the side? I'm pretty hopeless. Peter, what's the answer to the stupid KKK Nazi question?
What?
What do you do about a group that is
I'm sorry.
That's an easy answer, but whatever it is, I can hear it.
Today it's my group, tomorrow it's your group.
Well, my group happens to be a group of Nazis. Now, how do you keep us out?
Oh my God. Right, so that's why I said not unreasonably reject, right?
So-
if you have a group that is espousing hate, then it's not unreasonable to say, no, you can't use this event to spread your hate. But if you're gonna have a group that's trying to
Organize a safer street, or more composting, or against a shelter, or for a shelter, that's not spouting hate. Hopefully it wouldn't be run that way. Yeah.
Borderline right there.
I'm going to leave that commentary for another day. But so you can't unreasonably refuse them. But if you're the KKK, I don't think anyone's going to suggest that it's unreasonable. Yeah, you, the KKK, you can go march 3 rings around McDonald Park if you want. The cops will keep an eye on you. You have the right to do it. But you don't have the right to come to my street fair. That's not unreasonable.
And also, this is just a clarifying question. When you were talking about your own incident, what's the difference between an operator and a sponsor?
So on a lot of these street fairs, the sponsor is typically a more local entity. It might be the Chamber of Commerce or the Lions Club or even the 112th Precinct Council. So, you know, it's a local entity that says, I want to do a street fair. Most of these local entities, you don't really have the resources to do that. So what you turn to what's an operator. Now, operators actually are the ones that actually go out there, producers. They're the ones who bring in all of the vendors, collect the money, make sure that everything is set up, and they operate it on the day of.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
And they have their own rules and stuff that you have to apply to.
I saw someone else, I wanna make sure. I thought I saw another hand after Bruce. LT, yeah, it was you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we also have the provision that the committee put in about diversity, so I think that would override the problems that Bruce brings up.
The equity, diversity, and belonging. Okay, and Mark. Oh, yeah, sorry, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to point out too, that these are money-making opportunities for these groups. We had one group that came to us that provides services to older people, and this funds some of their programs. So, and it turns out that it's public information. So I think there's a way to look up online to see how much money these activities run for these groups. So that's something that we can inquire about if people would be interested.
So I have. So this would apply to all of these street permits that we have this evening, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. We've got 6 that we're looking at tonight. We will probably have one more in March, just because it came in late and it's a little different. So we're going to have that for next meeting. Any other questions for this motion? Oh, this is the producer. The producer, come on down. This is one of the producers. He works very hard. In fact, he produces, I think, all.
Not all, just about.
Anyone on here that you don't?
On this no.
Okay, see that, all of my point.
Hi, good evening, folks. I'm gonna keep this really quick, and thank you very, very much for your time. And you guys do this month after month, and I know I have a hard time sitting here for 2 hours, so I applaud you guys for what you're doing. My name is Robert Ash. I am the Director of Operations for Clearview Productions. We do manage the bulk of the fairs here in the community. I'm also a resident in the community on 71st Avenue. So I take pride in what I do because not only is it my living, but it's also where I live. I'd like to address what's being brought up here. In my 20 years of managing fairs, there's been a handful of circumstances where an organization, again, I manage the fairs on behalf of the organizations. There's been a handful of 20 years of over 100 events I've managed across the city and out on Long Island that a nonprofit or civic organization or community organization wants to participate in an event, and the host organization doesn't want that group there. And usually, always, it's under the scenario that that organization's agenda or mission is in conflict with the host organization, and that's what we're discussing here today. And so when you consider this, I'm sorry, you're calling what's the proper word for the add-on?
Provision.
Provision, thank you. When you consider this provision, understand that that's what this provision is. It is, quite frankly, a group's agenda that was against the Chamber of Commerce's agenda. And that's why they're split, for no other reason, okay? So I just want to make that very clear, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so unless there's any other further questions or concerns, I'd like to move this to a vote. I'm going to, this will be one vote per person for each. I'm not gonna call y'all like 8 times, 5 times. So I'm just gonna call you each, so yes or no on this.
Yes or no on what?
On Peter's motion.
The motion
To approve all the street
fairs
fairs
with that provision.
okay? Oh yes, and we also have some abstentions that I have on my list. And
Anybody has to abstain from any of the street fair votes for any reason?
I have Heidi, you have to abstain for the Lions Club and the 112, correct?
I have to abstain from the 112, not the Lions Club.
Okay, and then for the 112 also Pat, also Renee to abstain from the 112. And I think anyone here from Forest Hills Jewish Center that would have to abstain, I have you on the list. Sherry, anyone else? You're a member? Okay, so then we'll put you down as well. Okay, so we've got Sherry and we've got Karen Imus. Okay, not a problem. All right, so I'm gonna call you each and it would be, yes, Barbara.
Who's abstaining from 112?
Pat.
Heidi, Pat, and Renee.
Heidi, Pat, Renee.
Okay, and then you
And then
said-
from the Forest Hills Jewish Center, it is Sherry Rolnick and Karen Imus. And then for Lions Club, nobody. Okay, and Martha?
No, I have a question.
Okay, get a microphone. Thank you.
Okay, being that we're in a divisive year right now, I'm really concerned about, we're all about diversity and inclusion. Is this gonna protect us from, political inclusion? Is this gonna protect us from the situation that's going on right now about migrants and, people without shelter? Because we have a lot of PACs that are being funded by sources that are beyond our control, and they can use our street fairs as a way to get their message out, and it's gonna be anti-inclusion, anti-diversity, and actually hate. Does this cover that? How will we deal with this?
Yeah, thanks, Martha. I think LT's point actually covers this, which is that there's the committee's first provision on diversity and inclusion that would have producers and sponsors not allow groups that conflict with the values of the community. So if they're espousing hate in any way, then no, that wouldn't be consistent. We wouldn't expect an organization here to have to provide them with space. And then the additional provision that I've amended to add, that's why I use that word, would not unreasonably refuse. So that they tie together. So it would be reasonable to refuse someone who was not espousing the values of the community and violating concepts of diversity and inclusivity. So the short answer is no. I don't think this opens the door at all to that. It doesn't mandate that any of these groups have to allow a group that might be pushing hate or anti-inclusivity. It doesn't open that door.
So, I need to move this to a vote because we have a Queens Bus redesign presentation tonight. We have to pass this resolution on the shelter tonight. So I'm sorry, I have to cut questions now because we've really got to shake our tail feathers and get moving. Okay, so I'm going to call the vote starting with Michael Arcadi.
Yes.
Okay, David Aronoff.
Yes.
Anicia Ione.
Yes.
Salwa.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Heidi.
Yes, with the exception of the one where.
Yep, got it. Gina.
Yes.
LT.
Yes.
Condra.
Yes.
Latrice.
Yes.
John Dershowski.
Yes.
Keith. Bruce.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Serena.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Marcel.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Not here. Dr. Renee.
Yeah, yes, with the exception of one.
Yes. Pat.
Yes.
Diana.
Yes.
Sherry. Matt. David Chance.
Yes.
Jean.
Yes.
Martha.
Yes.
Brentley.
Yes.
TT. Okay, that was a yes, a quiet yes. Effie. Okay, Catherine Zapata, and I'm a yes. Okay, I go last. Okay, so that motion passes. Listen, I just want to thank tonight, all the folks here who do street fairs, can y'all stand up? What you guys do for this community is amazing. You get us out of our houses, you get us all together. We're so thankful for everything that you do for this community, what we see, what we don't see. We're glad that you came here. Also note, guys, these guys drug themselves out 2 nights. They didn't just come tonight, they also came to the committee meeting. So again, thank you all so very much. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to another great season of eating very fattening food and buying things we probably didn't need, but we had to buy. So thank you. Okay, and that is it for consumer affairs. Next up is land use. So I'm gonna give it all over to, oh no, I'm sorry. Queens Bus, we gotta get on the bus. So I'm gonna turn it over to Peter. And if there are friends from the MTA could come on down, go this way, because y'all are gonna wanna be behind us.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if anyone doesn't already know, the MTA has been involved in actually a multi-year process of trying to redesign the bus maps in Queens. Their first attempt, which was, I think, pre-COVID actually, ultimately there was so much pushback, including from this community, because there were some huge changes, like the Q23 suddenly made a left on Queens Boulevard and headed out to eastern Queens, and then they added a new bus route to get you down to Metropolitan and the schools. So it created a lot of issues. MTA, to its credit, has gone back to the drawing board in the intervening years and with a lot of feedback, and they've redesigned, they now have a new plan. I strongly recommend the best way to kind of look at what's going on, and I hope everyone will do this, and then you can email comments to the community board. Go on your computers, Google Queens Bus redesign. They have a really big website. There's a lot of details. Scroll down, you're looking for a link that's going to take you to the route details. Route profiles is what you'll find online. Click on that. Go find your bus. And then click on that link to a PDF that lays out what's happening with your bus. In most cases, they're going to stay the same. But look at that PDF, because what they have done, and they'll speak about this in just a moment, is they've moved some of the stops. They've they've stopped some, they've canceled some stops or removed them, and they've added some other ones in order to try and change the spacing, which hopefully translates to faster bus times. But it's important that you go online, you look up your bus, and then you can email the community board with any concerns or comments that you're seeing. We're putting, I'm finishing, I had a tooth pulled, otherwise I would have already finished today. We're putting together a document that we're going to send in to their team with the issues that we still see. So I'm going to hand it over now, and for the board members, you're getting a copy of this, and I turn it over to.
Hi, good evening, everybody. We're gonna do it, you know, nice and easy, but also quick, because you guys have a lot to talk about. Absolutely. My name is Lucille Songhai. I am Assistant Director of Government and Community Relations at MTA, New York City Transit. I'm here tonight with some of our Queens Bus Network redesign team to go over specific bus proposals that we have put forward for the Community District 6. So what we just passed around is the presentation, which is also up here. So folks that are following along online can see it on the screen, and also folks that are here. Additionally, we have put together a packet of information that also contains the bus stops. I think more than anything, and you know, even with one of the community members tonight who came up and shared information about a relative of his taking a particular stop, we really do feel like the stop changes are the things that we really want to hear most from folks. I think a lot of folks are familiar with some of our route proposals that we put forward. In particular, I know that there were a lot of folks that did not like our Q23 proposal from the last plan that we came out with, and we heard that feedback and we made some really good changes to it that I think folks actually do like. But I think on the real, the bus stops is really where the rubber meets the road for a lot of folks. The bus stops are, you know, it's the thing that everybody uses, particularly for our disabled passengers and just, you know, folks with strollers and folks with bags. You know, the bus really does cater to folks that don't necessarily or can't necessarily use the subways. So tonight we are going to go through this presentation briefly. We're not going to take that much time, and I'm going to turn it over to Evan from our redesign team, and thank you all so much for having us.
The website has been enough for everybody, but we'll email it to everybody tomorrow, and I will shut the lights so that you guys can see the screen a little bit if you don't have it in front of you. But everyone will get a copy of the presentation after.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Evan Białostotsky, Acting Senior Director of Bus Network Redesigns at the MTA. Glad to be here tonight. Wanted to call out Sasha Otskan from New York City Department of Transportation, who's with us tonight. DOT is our full partner in this massive undertaking, so any DOT questions, Sasha is here. So next slide, please. And we know we're in District 6, so we can go to the next slide. All right, why are we redesigning the Queens Bus Network? Queens has more bus routes and bus riders than any other borough. 113 bus routes that serve approximately 800,000 customers on an average weekday. That's more bus riders in Queens than in the entire city of Chicago. Queens is growing and changing. Demographics and travel patterns are shifting. Jamaica, Flushing, and Long Island City in particular are booming, but other employment centers located farther away from the subway are also growing. But meanwhile, the Queens Bus Network has not substantially changed in decades. Many routes follow old trolley lines. Incremental changes have resulted in slow, indirect routes with closely spaced bus stops. As our customers' needs change, we must change with them and bring our bus network into the 21st century. Next slide. So how are we going about this? We asked customers how we should prioritize our efforts to develop a better bus network, and they answered with these 4 priorities, which make up our goals for our redesign. So first is reliable service. Customers want to be able to rely on buses to arrive when expected. The second is faster travel. Customers express concerns about delays, slow bus service, and congestion. The third is better connections. Customers want improved connections within Queens and to other boroughs as well. And lastly, but not least important, a simplified service. Customers want a bus service that's simple and easy to understand. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Wilkinson, the transportation planner on the Queens Redesign team, who's going to talk about the routes here specifically in Community Board 6. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here with you. I know I speak for all of us at MTA when we're really excited to hear about what you think about our proposals and our goals to bring better bus service to your community. I am in charge of going through the specific routes. There are a lot of them, as you are no stranger to, that go through the district, so I'm going to keep it really brief, but I'd just like to remind you all that you have, at least as the board members, you all have copies of the route profiles and perhaps the presentation too. And all of this information that we're presenting tonight is available in multiple different forms on the website, which is new.mta.info/Queens Bus Redesign. So just getting into some of the changes since the new draft plan, which would have been the last version of this plan that you might have seen a couple of years ago. Firstly, we've made some changes to the Q23, maintaining service from Forest Hills to 108th Street in response to customer feedback that we received. We've also maintained Q38 service along Juniper Valley Road. We heard a lot about that. We're no longer proposing to combine the Q64 with the Q10. Our proposal for the Q73 has been rescinded. The Q54 along Jamaica Avenue has been maintained, and Q88 service in existing routing to Queens Village is also going to be maintained. And then some key changes overall that we're looking at are some new limited routes that provide more all-day frequent service through the district, those being the Q54 and the Q88. We're also looking at some new and modified local and limited routes that expand the reach of the bus network and improve interborough service, those being the Q54 and the Q59. And then several Brooklyn bus network redesign routes also improve these connections interborough, those being the B7, the B13, and the B55. And then lastly, we have looked at straightening or extending or realigning certain routes to improve connections, speed, and reliability, those being the Q10, the Q11, the Q37, the Q59, and the Q60. Moving on to the next slide, and the new express bus network. We are proposing some minor changes to the express bus network overall. We've chosen to rename all of the express buses that have starting with the X prefix to QM. We're proposing to shorten 2 routes due to low ridership, those being the QM12 and the QM42. All of the other existing routes maintain their existing routing through this district, so no need to worry about those in the routing changes. We're also looking at some minor bus stop balancing changes on express buses. 3 routes through the district will have modified Manhattan routing under this plan, meaning the QM63, the QM64, and the QM68. And then 1 new route will stop at Queens Boulevard and 78th Avenue with weekday peak hour service to downtown Manhattan. That new route is proposed to be the QM65. We're also looking at some minor service band changes on some routes, and most express bus routes have minor frequency reductions due to low ridership on some trips that we've observed both before and after the COVID-19 pandemic. So moving on to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about how to read the stop lists that are available in the route profiles that have been mentioned earlier. That's also for anyone with the big packets. Those are the portrait packets. Those have all of the stop lists as well. So starting out from the left-hand side, you'll see the direction of the bus. In the center, you'll see the name of the stop that we're referring to. You'll see what our proposal for the stop is, what its sequence is in the new route, and then what the notes for that particular proposal are, whether we're looking to add it at the existing bus stop, for example. Moving on now to the real meat of the presentation, which is the route profiles. Again, I'm going to go really quickly through these, but again, all of this information is very available online and in the physical materials that we've brought along. We're proposing for the Q10 to consolidate Q10 service to only serve Lefferts Boulevard, which is the current the current limited version that you see today. The part that we're choosing to exclude from the Q10 will be picked up by the Q37. Moving on to the Q11, we're proposing for the Q11 to be the main local route along Woodhaven Boulevard, combining it with the Q21. This will serve Lindenwood instead of the area near the aqueduct. Moving on to the Q14. So we're proposing to combine the Q23. No, sorry, getting mixed up. The Q14 will be a new route serving the northern segment of the existing Q23. That's in the northern part of this map, and then also picking up the northern segment of the Q38 as well. Next up, we have the Q23. The proposed Q23 would be shortened to reduce some turns that we found to be a bit problematic, and shorten the route length, which will improve reliability, we're hoping. Moving on again, the Q29 will maintain its existing routing. We're only proposing stop changes on this route. Moving on to the Q37, we're proposing some minor changes in the routing of the Q37 in the southern segment. As I mentioned earlier, it's picking up the local portion of the Q10, but otherwise we're just proposing stop changes. The Q38 will no longer operate as a loop route, and we're going to split it up as a part of this plan. The Q14, the proposed Q14, will pick up that northern segment of the loop. We're not proposing any changes to the Q52 SBS. All of the routing and the stops and the frequencies and the serve spans will remain the same. And that's the same for the Q53. The Q54 will also maintain its existing routing, only stop changes are being proposed. The Q59 will be streamlined on both its eastern and western ends, providing more direct service between Williamsburg and Rego Park. The Q60 will maintain its existing routing through the district as well. We're only proposing stop changes on this route. The Q64 will also maintain its existing routing. We're only proposing stop changes here too. That's the same for the Q72 and the Q88 and the QM4 and the QM10. Sensing a theme here. Same for the QM11. The QM12 we are proposing to shorten and reduce its length in the southern half. This is due to low ridership that we had observed again both before and after the pandemic. The QM15 will maintain its existing routing, as will the QM18, as will the QM40. The 42, much like the 12, we're proposing to shorten it a little due to low ridership at those stops. People at those stops will have alternate service options that we're happy to discuss further. The QM44 will maintain its existing routing. The QM63 will be rerouted a little bit in Manhattan and in southeastern Queens to avoid a more difficult turn that we observed. The QM64 will also be rerouted in Manhattan to hopefully make people's trips to Manhattan a little easier, make them have to walk a bit less in Manhattan. The QM65 is a new route that we're proposing that will connect Laurelton to downtown Manhattan. So I mentioned that a bit earlier on the express bus slide. And then finally, the QM68, we're proposing a little extension in Elmont. Otherwise, the Manhattan routing will be changed a little bit as well. And now I'm going to pass it back to Lucille to talk about how to provide feedback.
So, lots of different ways that you can get in touch with us. So, obviously, we had a really substantial good conversation with the committee a couple of weeks ago, and looking forward to, hearing the detailed feedback from the committee. We really encourage board members to get your feedback over to the committee so that we know particularly about the stop changes, but also about routing as well. We are going to every Queens community board, both transportation committees and full board. So we have been hearing from a wide swath of people in Queens. Starting in the spring, MTA will be hosting, and I'm hopefully hopefully it will, we will be able to actually host one of our meetings here at Borough Hall with the permission of the Borough President's Office. But MTA will be hosting in-person open houses so that folks can meet with planners like Ryan. Folks can take a look at their particular routes and really dig in with us and let us know what they want to see. Additionally, we have Remix, which is a web-based interactive map that we've been using actually with the redesign the last couple of years. Remix is really great because you can really hone in on particular stops and put your feedback directly there. And then the planning team is able to see that right then and there, so in real time. Additionally, for folks that aren't necessarily able to come out to meetings, we have, and I think the board actually might have received their copy this week, but we have been mailing out hard copies of the redesign to every Queens community board, every Queens elected officials' offices, so that folks, constituents, when they come in, they'll be able to have that. We've also sent it to every Queens library, and we also have sent a hard copy to every Queens senior center. So we're really trying our best to make it and reach out to folks that may not necessarily be as plugged in virtually, but will have an opportunity to give us their feedback. Additionally, tonight I have basically like a paper feedback form. So you're more than welcome to also just fill that out, and then you can give it over to the board office and they will let us have it. Next slide, please. We're almost done. So just wanting to go through where we've been with the timeline. You all can see this has been pretty much a 4-year process. COVID, took us on an 18-month pause. But, I will say that was a very, in some ways was a worthwhile thing, because the first time we came out with this plan back in early 2020, I have never seen Queens so united in hating this plan collectively. From hill to stream, everybody hated this plan. At the time, we had received the most comments that we had ever received for a project, over 11,000 comments from folks. So we really heard how much people did not like what we proposed, and we made changes. And so that's the thing that I think, above all, I really want to emphasize to folks. Even if you do not like something that you see today, our team has really been committed to listening to folks and incorporating those changes into each subsequent new draft that we come up with. So we're going to be doing our outreach through the spring. After we do all of our outreach, we will have a MTA public hearing. Again, that will be another opportunity. After we have our in-person meetings, we'll also be doing some mobile van visits, where we'll have Queens redesign team members coming out with the mobile vans to places where people are bus dependent, and talking to them about their commuting and travel. We will have an MTA public hearing, and then we will put out a final plan addendum, which will include all of the changes that we will make. And then finally, at some point in 2024, we're not putting a date on it, the MTA board will vote on this plan, and then sometime later in 2025, we will have scheduled implementation that will be an all hands on deck activity with folks out at bus stops helping people get used to what their new commute will look like. I also want to just add one thing, that we also have a future trip planner, which is actually really useful. Part of the reason why it took us so long to come back out with this final proposed plan is because our scheduling team actually inputted all of the scheduling data that they needed. So with our future trip planner, which you can find on the Queens Redesign website, you can put in your starting destination, your end destination, and see potentially what your new travel path will look like to get to the places that you care most about. So I really want to thank the board, and we're here for questions.
Thank you very much, Lucille. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the work that you and your team have done on this. We're going to take about 5 minutes for some questions from members of the board who were not present at the Transportation Committee back on the 25th, because we all had our chance. So Martha, Michael, Effie, those are the first three. Okay, so Martha, go ahead.
Okay. I grew up in Forest Hills, and when I grew up, Metropolitan Avenue was developing. Now we have Angie's Supermarket, we have Trader Joe's, and it seemed as soon as Trader Joe's opened, the 69th Metro stop disappeared. Angie's used to be an old supermarket, I don't remember it, but now we're talking about mothers with their kids having to walk blocks at night that is not lit. We're talking about commuters coming from 71st and Continental, having to get off at 69th and Kessel by the yeshiva school, walking up, not lit. And now you're gonna take that away? And a lot of, I was the mother. I chose not to drive because I wanted to save the environment. So I didn't mind taking the stroller and walking down Kessel 71st to Union Turnpike, crossing across because Union Turnpike is not safe if you have a stroller, and walking back.
Is this the 54?
Huh?
Which
It's a
bus?
23.
The 23, okay, thank you.
And for you, now if you look at the development of what Metropolitan Avenue is, and now you're eliminating the main stops, okay, I'm not a fan of this. You have a lot of women with children, elderly. I was in opposition when that old supermarket went out. I was very happy that Angie's is there. But you know what? The people that are in the middle neighborhood of Kessel, Ingram, that don't drive, that can't afford cabs, they are walking up because there's no bus for them to drop them off on Metro. If you drop them off on 69th and Metro, they pick up their groceries, they can go across the street to Shell and go back home. This is not good. And it seems like it's getting worse and worse. We have to think about the people who live and grew up in these communities, the elderly, and the women with children.
I appreciate the feedback. Okay, so make sure that the stops that you're referencing, you were saying with the Q23, so we'll take a look at that, and that's something I think that the board is taking note of.
When you talk tonight, if you could let us know the exact bus route you're talking about, and then if you could just do us a favor, it's great to hear this. Can you email that information to Peter so that he can make double check it? We think we have it on our list, but we want to make doubly sure. Can you do that for me?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Michael.